You know what's funny? Society has this peculiar way of making you believe that your greatest enemy is out there somewhere, lurking in the shadows. But I'll let you in on a little secret. The real war isn't fought on streets or battlefields. It's waged in the darkest corners of your mind, where your potential sits imprisoned by the bars of other people's expectations. They feed you these comfortable little lies, don't they? Stay in line, follow the rules, be realistic. But what they're really saying is, please, please don't discover what you're truly capable of, because that's what terrifies them. Not who you are, but what you could become. They've crafted this elaborate maze of social norms and acceptable behaviors, not to protect you, but to protect themselves from the raw, untamed force of your potential. You see, every great transformation in history was first met with resistance. The catalyst for change is always treated like a virus by the status quo. Why? Because your metamorphosis threatens their carefully constructed reality. When you start breaking free from their prescribed limitations, you expose the fundamental lie they've built their lives around, that mediocrity is the natural state of being. Have you ever noticed how they rush to label anyone who dares to think differently? Unrealistic, dangerous, crazy. These aren't criticisms, they're confessions of their own fear. Every time they try to clip your wings, they're really screaming, don't show them they can fly. Because once one person breaks free from the invisible cage, others might start questioning their own bars. The most delicious irony is that their attempts to contain you are actually the fuel for your transformation. Every no they throw at you is another brick in the foundation of your resolve. Every door they slam becomes a wall you'll learn to climb. Their resistance is your resistance training, sculpting you into something they couldn't possibly imagine. Here's where it gets fascinating. The moment you start embracing your potential, you become their worst nightmare, living proof that their limitations are lies. Those who try to stop you aren't really fighting you. They're fighting against the evidence that their own chains are self-imposed, that their own barriers are nothing but smoke and shadows they conjured to justify their surrender. Think about it. Why would they invest so much energy in keeping you in your place if that place was truly where you belonged? Their panic is a compass pointing directly toward your true north. The stronger their reaction, the closer you are to breaking through to something extraordinary. You see, comfort is the poison they use to paralyze your potential. They'll offer you a comfortable cage, padded with social approval and stuffed with the cotton candy of conventional wisdom. But comfort is just fear wearing a velvet glove, squeezing the life out of your dreams, one compromise at a time. The truth they don't want you to realize is that their whole system of control is built on a foundation of smoke and mirrors. The boundaries they've drawn are nothing but lines in the sand, waiting to be washed away by the tide of your awakening. Every rule they've written, every limitation they've imposed, is just another chapter in their book of fears. The part that shatters their carefully constructed illusion is this: your potential isn't just about you, it's contagious. When you break free from their expectations, you create a crack in their perfect prison. Others start to see through that crack, catching glimpses of their own suppressed potential. You become a living, breathing proof that their carefully constructed limits are nothing but elaborate illusions. Remember, They're not afraid of your dreams. They're afraid of the moment you realize that those dreams were never big enough. They're not afraid of your ambitions. They're terrified of the day you understand that what they called impossible was just the beginning of what you're capable of. Every time they try to make you shrink, they reveal just how much space you're meant to occupy in this world. What they never tell you is that your greatest power lies in your ability to shatter their precious predictability. See, they've built their entire world on the foundation of constructed order, the comforting belief that everyone will follow their predetermined script. But you're the glitch in their matrix, the anomaly that threatens to unravel every thread of their perfectly woven illusion. It's almost poetic how they scramble to contain what they don't understand. They'll brand your awakening as a threat, prescribe conformity as salvation, and celebrate each time someone surrenders their dreams to the altar of mediocrity. But beneath their polished smiles lies a trembling truth. Beneath every word of caution is a whimper of fear. Behind every practical advice lurks the terror of witnessing untamed potential. You want to know the real reason they work so hard to keep you doubting yourself? Because doubt is their most effective prison. It's invisible, costs them nothing to maintain, and best of all, you become your own jailer. Every time you question your potential, you're doing their work for them, reinforcing the walls of your own containment. Brilliant system, isn't it? They've convinced millions to voluntarily chain themselves to mediocrity, all while believing they're making a rational choice. But let me tell you something about rationality. It's often just fear dressed up in a business suit. They've rationalized their surrender so completely that your refusal to surrender feels like an attack on their reality. And in a way, it is. Every step you take beyond their imagined limitations is a crack in their carefully constructed worldview. Every achievement they declared impossible becomes a sledgehammer to their paper-thin reality. The most delectable part of this whole charade is watching them try to rationalize your growth. First, they'll say it's impossible. Then, when you do it anyway, they'll say it's dangerous. And when you succeed despite their warnings, that's when the real show begins. They'll try to take credit, claim they supported you all along, or better yet, they'll try to study you, understand you, replicate you, as if your freedom could be bottled and sold in safe, manageable doses. You see, they've created this elaborate dance of societal expectations where everyone moves in carefully choreographed patterns of mediocrity. But the moment you start dancing to your own rhythm, you expose the artificiality of their performance. Your authentic movement makes their rehearsed steps look like what they are, a pale imitation of living. Here's what makes them truly uneasy. Your potential isn't just about achieving more than they said was possible. It's about becoming something they can't categorize, control, or comprehend. When you break free from their carefully labeled boxes, you become a walking contradiction to their entire system of belief. You become living proof that their limitations are self-imposed, that their boundaries are imaginary, that their rules are nothing but elaborate suggestions. They don't want you to realize that their authority exists only in the minds of those who choose to recognize it. The moment you stop playing by their rules, their power evaporates like morning dew under the harsh sun of reality. That's why they invest so heavily in making their rules seem natural, inevitable, and unquestionable. But nature doesn't recognize their boundaries, and neither should you. Think about how they react when someone steps out of their assigned role. The panic isn't about the individual act of defiance. It's about the domino effect it might trigger. Because once people realize that one person can break free, the whole illusion of containment starts to crumble. Your transformation becomes a beacon, a living testament to the possibilities they try so desperately to deny. What they fear most isn't your success or failure. It's your willingness to attempt what they've declared impossible. Because in that attempt, regardless of outcome, you expose the greatest lie they've sold. That acceptance of limitation is wisdom. Every time you push against their boundaries, you demonstrate that their wisdom is nothing but crystallized fear, their prudence, nothing but petrified possibility. Remember this: their resistance is your roadmap. The areas they guard most fiercely are exactly where you need to push hardest. Their desperate attempts to maintain control are actually signposts, pointing directly toward your next breakthrough. Every "you can't," "you shouldn't," "you mustn't" is a compass pointing toward what you absolutely must do. In the end, what terrifies them most isn't what you might become. It's what you might inspire others to become. Because one person breaking free might be dismissed as an anomaly, but a movement of people awakening to their potential, that's their system's death knell. You're not just fighting for your own freedom, you're threatening the very foundations of their control. And that is truly beautiful chaos. You see, they've spent generations perfecting the art of containment, crafting increasingly sophisticated cages for human potential. They've learned that the most effective chains are the ones you can't see. Expectations, social norms, the constant drone of "be realistic." But they never expected you to develop the ability to see through these invisible bars. They never anticipated that someone would not only see the cage, but would have the audacity to question its very existence. That's the real reason behind their sleepless nights. Not just that you might break free, but that you might reveal the truth about their entire system of control. Every time you exceed their carefully calculated limitations, you're not just achieving something extraordinary, you're exposing the fraudulent nature of the limitations themselves. You're showing others that the ceiling they've been hitting their heads against is nothing but a hologram, projected by those who benefit from their containment. And here's the most exquisite part of your transformation. You don't just break free from their system, you transcend it entirely. While they're still arguing about whether something is possible or not, you're already living in a reality where their rules don't apply. You become living proof that their entire framework of possible and impossible is nothing but an elaborate fantasy, maintained only by collective agreement to remain confined. So let them tremble. Let them scramble to reinforce their crumbling walls of control. Because every moment you spend unleashing your potential is another crack in their system, another ray of light breaking through their carefully maintained darkness. Your very existence becomes a revolution, your growth a rebellion, and your success a wake-up call to others trapped in the same invisible prison you've escaped.